important psychology in sprinting? Well, it's been said that sprinting is 90% physical and 10% psychological, and that's true in a particular circumstance. If your PB's 12.9, then no matter how much you believe in yourself, if come race day you're lined up next to dangerous Darvis, then you're going to get smoked, like a mackerel. But if your adversaries are all physically much of a muchness, like 9.82, 9.86, 9.84, 9.91, 9.83, then psychology is the key. Right, well, seeing as I'm going to be a world beater, I best get up on these mind games. Psychic sprints, psychic sprints! Preach! Testify! I'm no head doctor, so this is not medical, it's just my observations. I think that psychology is the way or the path of thinking for particular situations. Different situations require different paths of thinking, and good psychology depends on what you're doing. It's not about thinking nice, airy-fairy thoughts. It's about asking yourself what's most effective for you to survive and adapt. Take driving. Now, I reckon that the best psychology is to assume that everyone else on the road is a complete idiot and can't be trusted. Now, while that might not be the best psychology if, let's say, you were out with your friends for a meal, you moron. What's peace? It's the most effective mindset to have to reduce those fender benders. So, different situations, different psychologies. The way we think changes our bodies and performance. Thoughts can be anabolic and catabolic. Ever heard the expression, I lost pounds because of the stress? Thoughts can make us faster or slower. Ever heard, I was just jumping around with excitement? Thoughts can make us rise to a new level or stay at the same level. Ever heard, he who thinks he can and he who thinks he can't are both usually right? Or the Western version,
you can do it, put your back into it.
And while I've done those videos about the old go-go juice and they're pretty polarizing, we're all walking around with a 3-pound organ in our noggins, which basically influences our muscle gain, our neural firing and our performance, and it's basically overlooked. One's seen as too hardcore, the other one's seen as too lightweight. Well, now it's time to explore the namby-pamby power of the mind. We come installed with certain thinking software from birth. Our first version of Microsoft Windows is the lizard brain. The response is wonderfully simple. We detect a threat, the adrenals fire, we have 3 options: fight, flight, or freeze. After a few years, the mammalian brain has developed, and it's interested in relationships. And again, the responses are pre-programmed. When we feel unhappy, aggressive, or antisocial, the sympathetic nervous system kicks in, the adrenals fire, and it's lizard time. When we feel happy, loving, and social, then the parasympathetic nervous system floods us with acetylcholine, and it's Miller time. Then, past 4 years old, we develop our higher brain, but the responses aren't pre-programmed. They're created by our perception of what we experience. And that, in large part, is influenced by the people around us. There's no simple rules. It depends on who your teacher is and the example they give you. Now, philosophers, religious leaders, and scholars have been trying to work out the best way to cope with this higher brain input for centuries. But none of those ancient wise ones were trying to storm to victory in sport, so you need the games guru. But you can't make it, so you're left with me to cobble something together. Psychology is a system of thought that we develop to cope with the world. Coping with a changing world means adapting. Training is the physical system that we use to control our bodies, which is one of the 2 environments that we really only have any control over. Psychology is a thought system that we use to control our minds, which is the only other environment that we have any real control over. Your body plus your mind is you. So training and psychology are just control strategies that give you the best return if you choose to invest in them. Now, I've spent nearly 3 years railing against the common information about physical training that people get because I don't think it helps them control their environment. That's nothing compared to the lack of sensible information out there about controlling your mind. It's just been reduced to useless epitaphs like, be positive and believe in yourself. When something becomes so generalized and diluted and stripped away from its foundation that it becomes meaningless, that's a problem. So here's a little help to re-cement it. If you're a sports person, you're trying to find a way of thinking that helps you perform better. That's the point. That's the goal. You want to think about things in a way that makes you produce a better result. I'm probably going to do a bunch of videos on these things, but let me kick off with a really big and easy one. Training is not testing, it's not competition. A lot of athletes confuse training with testing and training with competition, but they're not the same. Training is doing things in order to get an improvement. Testing is recording things for yourself in order to find out if there was an improvement. Competition is taking the improvement that you already know exists and just recording it officially around other people. Training's just designed to solve limiting factors, so you can either do off-the-peg generalized training, which solves most people's limiting factors, or else you can do Sulfac or OAP, which solves individualized limiting factors. But either way, it's a higher brain, sober task that needs to be done as calmly as possible. You're practicing to flip quickly between sympathetic to do the work, and then parasympathetic between the sets and the sessions. It's minute lizard brain. It's the smallest stress possible. Testing is then recording that with the greatest control possible. It is lizard brain, but the conditions are best for you, and the environment is one that you have much more control over. You decide when it happens, you decide when you're ready. You're testing to get a result, yes, but as importantly, you're testing to feel how you feel when you're in control. You need it as a reference point so you can take that into competition. Then, you're just trying to get as close to that feeling of control and calm in the chaos of competition. That's how you gauge how competition affects you. Competition, it's a trade-off. You're recording a performance where you have the least control over the environment, but competition gives you a higher neural innovation because competing is perceived as a threat. It's all lizard brain. And the thing that decides whether you fight in competition or you flight or freeze, I'll cover in the next video. Next video. It's obvious. It's like a tiger. I hope this helps. Bust me a thumbs up, because let me tell you something.
Bustin' makes me feel good.
Have your say in the comments, babe, and if you like my vibe, please subscribe.